best point guards to ever set foot on an NBA floor. And since 2008, he's held his CP3 Elite Guard Camp with 24 of the top high school and college guards in the country. Players that have participated in this camp are the likes of Steph Curry, John Morant, Trae Young, Jamal Murray, just to name a few. This year, our draft expert, Jonathan Gavoni, had the chance to go behind the scenes and talk with Chris Paul about the camp and his future.
Hard work, and that's all my granddad preached to us day in and day out, is that you have to work. I tried to translate that to the basketball court, in that if I wanted to play in the NBA someday, I was going to have to work hard.
With the 4th pick, let's go, first game.
Paul for the win! I write something on my shoes every game to say, can't give up now.
Chris Paul, a master maestro.
Paul puts it in!
I'm the most competitive person I ever met. I've never played a game not expecting to win.
I just ask y'all to keep competing. One thing that I say, if I could give any advice, the only thing that disappointed me a lot is that all y'all guards, right? Everybody guards. It was so quiet out here. It was so quiet out here.
What made you decide to start this camp back in 2008?
I think my big reason for starting this camp was just wanting to pass on the knowledge that it's crazy to think back in 08 that I thought I had at the time. And just being around the game, you know, it gave me an opportunity to get a chance to know a lot of other players better. And I know as a kid, when I was coming into this, I didn't have somebody who was coming to the gym with me and giving me that type of real life stuff aside from just trying to be the best basketball player. So it's always been about the game, right? The game and learning the ins and outs of the game, but also just about life.
I promise you, man, these coaches will tell you, most guys do not play in the NBA, not because you can't get a bucket, right? You gotta realize most guys get to the league off an average of 25 and 30, but it's only a few guys who get the opportunity to do that, right?
How has the responsibility of a point guard changed since you first started doing this camp in 2008 in terms of the curriculum that we're seeing here?
It's constantly changing. You know, point guards now score a lot more, the game's a lot faster, and that's fine. And I think that's what's cool about the game is you got to be able to adapt. You got to be able to change with it. I can still put myself back as a 16-year-old or a 17-year-old, and when I see some of these kids now at their age and their abilities, I'll be like, damn. I couldn't do that when I was 16 or 17, and that's what's so crazy about the game and what you got to appreciate about it. You know, and you can't hate, you can't be like, dang, they get a chance to do this. All I try to do is to be some type of vessel to maybe help them in their journey, and that's why I'm out here constantly, you know, learning and competing with these kids, because they got a lot of things in their bag and their repertoire that I don't have. And so just one thing to coach them and tell them what you see, but I think they all really love to compete against you. So, I mean, who knows how many more years I'm gonna play or whatnot, but I can't imagine a day that I can't get out there and play basketball with them, because as excited as they are, I'm probably more excited because it's a respect thing. Your players want to see you do the work. So I think it's always been cool and very important for me to not only have the camp, but to get out there and play basketball with them and let them know that I'm doing the work just like them.
It seems like this camp has become kind of a rite of passage for point guards. I was doing some research, you know, for past years, and I think one of the moments that stood out to me, you know, was the John Morant dunk, 2018. It feels like that was kind of the moment where he went from being off the radar to like, you know, this guy's going to be a lottery pick. This guy's someone we really need to focus on.
Yeah, man, it's been really cool. Once you come to camp, you immediately part of our family. And Ja, I remember when he came to camp, out of Murray State. A lot of people didn't know who he was. And as soon as he left camp, he was on everybody's radar, and it moved up to like the top point guard in the country. And definitely not because of me, but if I could be a part of his story, then I appreciate it. I got a chance to know him really well and his family. And, you know, after that camp, I definitely became one of his biggest fans.
Steph was a camper in the first one, 2008. Now he's your teammate with the Golden State Warriors. What does that mean for you at this point in your career?
Man, it means a lot. I mean, I'm excited. I'm excited about Steph, you know, Draymond, Clay, all the different guys, Wig, you know what I mean? I'm excited to for us to get together and see what it looks like. Yeah, man, it's just crazy how life works. You know what I mean? But when it comes to basketball, like, I'm close to my happiest. You know what I mean? I'm obviously happiest when I'm with my family and all that, but basketball is like my safe haven. Been that way for a long time, and I've been fortunate enough to play with some of the best players to ever play in the league. So now to be able to play with, you know, Steph, Clay, and all these guys, I'm excited about what I can learn, because when you're in the gym with greatness and stuff, you bring what you know to the table, but you also absorb everything they got with them.
What was he like back then as a camper in 2008? Any memories from that camp?
Steph's always been a hard worker, you know what I mean? And when you work like that, then good things are bound to happen, which is why he's had the career that he's had. And if anybody know him, he ain't satisfied.
What's your role going to be for the Warriors this season?
I won't know that till we get to camp, you know what I mean? Or till we get together, you know what I mean? So we ain't had any team meetings or whatnot, but it's crazy, and tell you in all honesty, probably the same thing it's always been, you know what I mean? To hoop, leadership, you know, all these years of playing, the game don't change with so much, you know, so I think I'm excited to sort of figure that out, you know, so I'm gonna go out and hoop.
I love that. Just go out there and hoop. We're back with Miss Congeniality, Rosgo and Perk. So Chris Paul joined Steph Curry as a leader in the locker room this season. Roz, you're an expert on all things Golden State from your time there. Why do you think CP3 partnering with Steph will work for the Dubs?
Well, I think like anybody else, we all thought in hearing this news that it was an odd pairing. Maybe some people might think it's going to be awkward. Certainly, Chris Paul has been rivals with Steph and the Warriors, and there's definitely reports about the strong personality of Chris Paul in the locker room. You know, could that affect the chemistry for the Warriors? And so from my perspective as someone who has been around the Warriors and covered Steph for a long time, not only is he an excellent player, but I think so much of the special things this Warriors group has been able to do over the years has a lot to do with who he is as a person and as a leader. His leadership style, the fact that he is egoless, he has a way of disarming people, and he gets a lot of respect. He's no slouch. He's well respected. So if there's any superstar that could make his locker room a safe space for a rival, perhaps an odd pairing, it is Stephen Curry. And his leadership permeates the rest of the team. Everyone else must get on board, and they'll follow suit. So I think, you know, Chris said, I don't really even know what my role is. I think as long as everyone comes to the table and puts the ego aside, Chris Paul could provide a nice change-up to the style of offensive play that relies so heavily on all that Steph can do and create.
Absolutely. I was at an event with Steph 2 days ago, and it was a lot of new people in the room. He did not meet a stranger there. He's just inviting, engaging, and just a great teammate, whether it is on the court and in business, you know, in his business moves. But Perk, how much do you think CP3 will impact the Warriors' championship pursuit this season?
He better impact it, because this is his last opportunity, in my opinion, of actually winning the championship. And we always talk about, and Roz, that was a great point. You brought up the situation of how him and Steph are going to work alongside one another. Well, Steph could play off the ball. My thing is how in late game situations is Steve Kerr going to utilize Draymond Green and Chris Paul? Because Draymond Green has actually been the point guard for that team over the last 2 years, initiating their offense, pushing the pace, running the offense through him, while you see Steph and Clay back screening and cutting and, you know, popping back and actually being great screen setters. So when I look at CP3, one, he's going to have to change his way of playing and play more off the ball, probably lead the second unit with Jonathan Kuminga and those young guys, as far as getting them involved and getting the best out of them. But if Chris Paul want to capitalize on winning the championship, I believe this is his last opportunity right now with the Golden State Warriors, and he has to make the best of it.
Yeah, it's not a bad place to be to try to shoot your shot at a championship. Now with our front office insider, Bobby Marks. Bobby, the Warriors have some real decisions to make when it comes to training camp starting. Can you break it all down for us?
Well, we're going to go to the touchscreen to go break it down, so come on over with me.
Oh, you want us to come? All right.
I think it's all going to depend on what we see with Klay Thompson here. That's my big question mark right now.
As it pertains to the lineup,
As
right?
it pertains to the lineup. And we're going to talk about Chris Paul in a minute. Now, here's the 34-year-old in February. He's extension eligible, 4 years, $223 million. Do I think he's going to get that? No. But I think when you look at Draymond Green getting a new contract, Steph Curry having 3 years left, could it be in that $3 to $100 million range here? Coming off last year, 69 games, 22 points. Now, that's what impresses me.
Okay.
You're starting to see his lift back coming off that injury. The first time since 2014-15. And I just think for where this Warriors lineup right now, he's the X factor.
Really?
Klay Thompson is the X factor here. Certainly that contract's going to come into play here.
Yeah, I love what I heard from Klay in the Podcast P interview. He was like saying, hey, I had some beefs, but nonetheless, I'm glad to be back and feel more like myself. What else did you see from the Warriors, looking forward to their next moves, incorporating Chris Paul? Because I know the Jordan Poole swap was a thing. It was a factor.
Well, it is, and this is kind of where their bench is right now. And we have Chris Paul on here. And here's some of the questions here. Next 2 years, is it a $400 and $400 million team? Luxury tax and
They've been
salary.
up there.
Now, here's the question. We're looking at $400 for next year. That includes Chris Paul back on a non-guaranteed contract and extending Klay Thompson. So you lose Chris Paul, how do you replace him? Now, here's going to be the big thing. You know how many games coming off the bench? 0.
Oh, wow.
Now, is he going to start? Is he going to come off the bench? Is he going to finish games? That's a big question. The young kids, Moody and Kuminga, certainly X factors as far as what type of role do they play. And then, of course, has the championship window closed? Are they better than Denver, Phoenix, the Lakers, Sacramento?
Oh, that list is long.
So that's a big question there. And certainly, this is the year. If they're going to go out and win a championship, this is the year.
Yeah, the time is now. Well, coming up next, the mics have been hot all summer long. What Kevin Garnett expects for Anthony Davis in the next 2 seasons. Speaking of championship windows, NBA Today will be right back after this.